Good evening. Have you ever wondered what goes in the mind of that poor cattle who's out on sale in the animal market? I guess no. Today, my friends, I'm going to reveal the biggest secret of my life. Toastmaster of the day, fellow Toastmasters, and dear guests. And that secret is that I have been into that situation not once, not twice, multiple times. And that exactly is the topic of my speech today. I am on sale. 17 September 1992. I was the happiest man on this earth because I had got my job even before my final year engineering result was out. And that too in Delhi, which was my dream city that time. At the time of departure, on the railway platform, my parents and I struck a deal. And according to that deal, I was allowed to have as many girlfriends as I wanted to have. Not on the long term. And in return, my parents would have all the rights to choose bride for me. I thought it's a fair deal. That's what I wanted. So I said, fine, it's okay. Without realizing that I've just put my neck in the block. Came to Delhi. Those 2.5 years in Delhi, ladies and gentlemen, were probably the most entertaining years of my life. I always thought that I'm an obedient son of my parents. But for some reason, they always had a fear that I'm going to be defaulted upon my promise. And they're going to have a shock of their life one fine day when I will introduce them to my wife from Delhi. As soon as I turned 23, I started having these special guests called girls' parents in my flat and even in my office. And since this communication means in 1994 was not as good as they are today, like mobile and email, these meetings were mostly unsolicited and even untimely. I remember once I decided to have a weekend beer bash with my friends. So I told my friends, guys, set up the music in the room while I go to buy beer. So I went and bought the whole carton of the beer, and mind you, those days there were no cans, the big glass bottles. So I carried the whole carton of the beer. As soon as I entered in my room, and I saw some elderly and unfamiliar faces looking at me like this. I turned my head towards my friend with the most interrogative look I could have ever given. And he comes closer to me, whispers in my ears, "Your future in-laws." Dude! Couldn't hold the weight of that carton. I'm sure that uncle and auntie must be still giving thanks to that carton of the beer who exposed me and saved their daughter from this drunkard guy. Another incident. We were having a sales meeting. A sales manager said, "Guys, we are spending a lot in the ad campaign. I would like to know the outcome. So Praveen, can you please tell me, last week how many inquiries or how many customers you attended?" Before I could stood up, my colleague stood up. And he says, "Sir, I'm keeping count of Praveen's inquiries. He got 3 inquiries, he met 3 customers for our product and 5 for himself." My salesman said, "What?" "Yes, sir, even his parents have run the ad campaign for himself." And these kind of incidents happened a lot in those 2.5 years. 23rd April 1995. Again, I was the happiest person because I got a job in Dubai. And I was coming to Dubai for the first time to start a bright new chapter in my life. Again at the time of departure, but this time on the international airport, my parents reminded me of the deal which we had 2.5 years ago.
Can you please request someone to put up the phones,
I thought I'm not going to have those embarrassing moments now because I'm going to leave India. And in Dubai, those parents are not going to come. I said, fine, I remember that deal, don't worry. And I came to Dubai, and life took off very well in Dubai. And I suddenly felt myself as a free bird out of the cage with my newly found freedom. And during this time, I've actually met some interesting friends. And I've discovered something new in me. 1 year passed very quickly. And then it was a time for my annual vacation. I was so thrilled. And as soon as I landed at the airport, my whole family was there to welcome me. And I realized that we are not going back to my hometown, Roorkee. We are going to my sister's place in Delhi itself. Next day I was again in the VIP mood. And my mother said, son, dress up well, because we are expecting some guests. Guests. That was the time again the bell started ringing. And I was again feeling like that cattle who was worshipped just before he's going to be sacrificed. Just to be fair on my parents' part, they actually were not having the objective of fetching the maximum amount of dowry. Maybe they wanted to have the very cultured and respectful girl, but somehow the parents of my prospective wives took it otherwise. And they started putting their best bid on my head. Yeah, we are laughing today, but I can tell you, especially the gentlemen present here, you don't want to be in that position. Because I was thinking, during my Dubai days, I actually quite felt myself to be like this. Sometime like this. And when I was in India, during those days when I was stuck up in Delhi with my parents and a lot of guests were coming, I was actually feeling myself to be like this. Sometime like this. So to cut the long story short, all that happened for the next 3 years. And whenever I used to go for my annual vacations. And finally on 2nd April 1998, this cattle was sacrificed. But not to someone which was a choice of only my parents, but mine too. And there was no dowry. Okay.